My name is Destiny White, and I am doing my author discussion on Octavia Butler. It is due April 24th, 2018 at 11:59. So I just want to start off by comparing and contrasting a couple things that I've noticed about Octavia as an author and also the book Blood Child as well. I have notes on my screen just in case you see me looking away, but I first wanted to get into the story Bloodchild because I think that will help us unravel and understand who Octavia is as a author and as a person. And we can also talk about the similarities that she has integrated with the novel she presented. So basically, I there's a huge contrast with the book Bloodchild. It's about she wrote about an alien planet which Terrians are have escaped, and they basically are leaving like a disaster world which was natively Earth. And so this is a technically a fictional novel, and it's about the opposite species. The the Terrians, they are to withhold, the males are to have the children instead of women be able to carry the children and give birth at 9 months like they normally would in the normal earth. It's the man who carry it. And I first, that's its own little compare and contrast as a whole. But during this time, the host males, they form a different bond with the where their host stage, and they try to find a love and hate relationship for the grounds and the conflict that's going on during this time. But the huge impact is when there's a character named Gain, and his mother wanted to basically withhold their own offspring as a whole, or embryo. So she gave up her son basically to do so. Um, during this time, the during this time in the civilization, it was like foreign because the men who were the aliens were to hold the child. So her doing this, it added conflict to the story that you would have not seen in today's world. Even though it's a fictional story, you still have to look back at the compare and contrast of what's happening today. So I want to touch base with, in the story, the gender reversal and also the empowerment of these two different species and how they survive independently but also using each other. And also, I love the story, and I want to talk about the different aspects that Octavia has brought to it. So first things first is a reversal. So with this, yes, in the normal world, we're going to compare how women usually carry the children and or young, and the men are there as moral support. However, it's completely reversed in this story. So with that being said, she basically is empowering women. I personally believe empowering women, because the men are looked upon as this fragile like character or person, and that, but yet they still have the empowerment, and they are actually being able to see how women in today's world feel when they are able to reproduce and are able to bring life, but yet they're just used as a necessity for life itself. And another huge struggle that you must touch base on is the struggle of the independentness between these two, the Tarians and the Tactans, the Tac. So basically, one needs the other to reproduce and carry his child, while the other um, is being used to, withstand and withhold this new planet. So basically, it's survival of the fittest, and they're basically leaning on each other as far as how the normal society of Americans in the world do now. So that I think that's very good to look at, that compare differences. The role reversal is what is being compared to make two different things. The women, they are more of the superior, and the men are more of like just the breeders. And then also the same thing that is looked the same through this book and also through the natural world is that you're dependent on the other to keep you alive and keep you going. With this being said, a lot of people said this is a love story, and well, that's from what I read with the reviews. However, I personally do not. I think this is a cry or a call to action so we can be enlightened. She did it in such a way that it will engage us to read the book itself, but she touch aspects that are just similes or used as metaphors to to enlighten the feminist role, and also to basically show the human sexuality as a whole. And I know that's a long stretch, but when she is speaking each term and when she's comparing one thing to another, you see how it is when women are called feminists, because they want the power since they can reproduce and provide this offspring. You see how it feels to be in a woman's shoes. You see what it's like to be looked through her eyes and to be like used for something and want more. And that's what the men in this book are referring to. I also think that Octavia used this novel to show her power and grow as a human being, just because it took a lot of work to use this psychological reversal and strength to express her feelings while making it entertaining to read. I personally, I know I don't really enjoy reading a lot of alien sci-fi books, but the way she portrayed this book, it was a love story and fictional, but also it touched major components that you would never, feel like you would read on an everyday basis. Yes, I can admit that I did read this book for my Africana Studies class, and that's the only reason I read it. But I actually enjoyed it because the way um, she used her dialect to touch each part of man, women, people as a whole, the earth, and let us see what is actually happening behind closed doors. It's enlightening. It shows you as an independent person, or as for myself, an independent female, I still need the power of a man, and I know my self value and I know my worth. She's just letting us touch on it, and I think this was a great aspect for the book, and I definitely recommend this to anyone.